the number of connected things. And this is the growth from 2011 to 2015. Look at the people. People are not growing much in those 4 years. We're not reproducing that fast. How about the network people? Even that's just a fraction of the total people on the planet, right? But look at the number of network devices. This is why we're running out of IP space, right? Because essentially the number of devices are just skyrocketing. And we know it. If you just look around yourself, 3 years ago, you probably are lucky if you had a Wi-Fi laptop, right? Maybe 4 years ago, okay? Now you probably have 5, 6 antennas in your bag, right? Of various kinds. If it's not the tablet, if it's not the phone, some people carry multiple phones, right? And definitely the laptop and all of that, right? Look what's happening with mobile and desktop traffic, right? This is over the last 6 months, and this is 6 months old. It's actually crossed since. So more traffic in India is going over mobile in terms of just our usage of the big pipes than over desktop. And this is just a given. We know that. I mean, more people are watching, and let's just take a look at some of the what is actually using some of this data, right? What is a yottabyte? Anybody know what a yottabyte is? I didn't know what a yottabyte was. It's a quadrillion gigabytes. It's a huge number, right? I mean, just a massive number. And guess what? We're getting to a yottabyte in the next 3 or 4 years. And guess what IBM's research has shown? That 90% of the information stored in the world was created in the last 2 years. In the last 2 years. Hey, we didn't get that smart that fast, right? It's not like all of us type that much. So it's just like we're exchanging information at a rapid pace. We're just literally, we need a big dedupe on the whole world, right? And because this is a great system for all the storage vendors, it's awesome. You're just storing everything. We're passing stuff around. We got hundreds of copies of everything, right? And it's highly inefficient, but hey, that's the way the world is right now. And this is how. And photos. Guess what? In the last 3 years, we started taking digital photos, right? Before that, nobody took any digital photos. And guess what's happening next? You'll see in a couple of slides, video is going to hit us in a big way, okay? So, you got this big bang. Big data is a huge thing in the cloud. And, you'll see VCs are hunting hard here. Lots of opportunities in big data. Big data and analytics, and it's very nascent. So if any of you are looking at those areas, it's really an area you can get into because even the world's experts are not that expert, okay? And a lot of the patterns haven't been recognized yet. And there's just a lot. I'm not suggesting that it's not a deep area, that that data scientists aren't valuable or anything like that. All I'm telling you is, of all the areas where there is expertise already, this is one of the areas where you could still get in there and put your toe in there and get quite far, right? That's all. So what are people trying to do out of all this data? They're trying to get 3 things out of it, right? They're trying to get structure. That is, it's like I can't figure out how to structure my hard drive, right? I keep having projects every 6 months, right? I'm going to clean it up. I'm going to organize it. I'm going to put all my files. Then I give up after a little while, right? Then I say, okay, let me just subset the problem and I'll just clean up my desktop, right? All the files there, all the folders there. And even that overwhelms me sometimes, right? So people have a huge problem with, structuring. Relevance. When I finally need something, I can't find it, right? And it's the truth. I'm sure it happens to you. And the more data you have, the more difficult it is to find, right? Even with all the great search technologies, right? It's like I've seen something recently. I was at a website recently, and I know a little bit of the words, but I'm not able to find that one website. And actually, if I surfed less, it'd be fast. I'd find it faster because there'd just be less things to look. But the problem is people are sending me all kinds of URLs. I'm seeing tweet feeds. There's all kinds of stuff. There's just too many streams, right? There's just too much stuff going on. So, how do I find what I want when I need it, right? And then how do you manage all this? It's this whole management problem that I'm talking about. Discovery, storing it properly, sharing it, retrieving it, All of these are extremely rich problems that, you might think it's all solved. It's absolutely not solved. Go take a look at anybody's laptop. Ask them to randomly find any file, especially a file that they haven't touched in the last, let's say, 2 months. They won't be able to find it. I'll guarantee you, okay? And so, that means there's a huge opportunity right there, right? Let's take a look at two things, big and nano. It's all got to do with cloud, okay? In a sense, you might be saying, hey, what has all this got to do with cloud? And this is all happening in the cloud, all of this stuff. By the way, everything's going to the cloud, right? So, if you think there's actually going to be a data center somebody's going to build out in 10 years from now, that person's going to get shot, right? Because it's not going to make any sense to do that. Its ROIs are not going to be there to put a private data center of any kind. Because everything is going to be cheaper to buy from an Amazon or whoever else, right, provides that kind of capabilities. The economics of that are just tremendously different than building something yourself. Absolutely impossible to do it. Even government agencies that say, we need privacy, we need this, we need regulatory, believe me, they will not be able to resist buying from the cloud, right? It will just be the way to buy eventually. Anyway, so big computing. So there's two spectrums of even the computing, right, in the big data. You have the big computing, where you're able to solve all kinds of really big problems by applying massive amounts of compute to it, to problems that earlier we could not solve, okay? So for instance, you have this Dr. Watson's thing. It's able to solve all kinds of medical problems now, just by sheer the number of gigaflops or teragigaflops or whatever you can apply to it, right? And guess what? This is getting even more compressed. HP is going to put out in 2017 something that on 5 chips can do everything that the biggest supercomputer today can do on 5 chips, right? That's their projection. So, Moore's law, it's not gone away, right? It's just accelerating, in fact. And just the amount of compute you'll have at your fingertips is amazing. And guess what? If you think about, I'm not even showing kind of the way, Wall Street uses this for, you've heard of the various trading systems that knock out the stock exchanges every now and then. It's basically supercomputers against supercomputers. In fact, Wall Street, most of the real estate in Wall Street right now is taken up to build data centers underground. And they want to get it closer and closer to the stock exchange. Why? Because of physics. The faster my trade can get in there, the better I can optimize, and the more money I can make in these arbitrage situations, right? So it's literally come down to the speed of light, in some sense, right? Because they want to go that fast, and they want to have that much compute there. You can go read about this yourselves and take a look. It's just amazing how big some of the largest private clouds are right underneath Wall Street doing these trades. And it's massive computers trading against each other. It's not human beings pulling any trigger. It's all autonomic. It's self-healing and it's self-managing, right? And it's extremely dense compute. Yeah? In fact, today apparently, anybody's password, regardless of how many digits you put in it, how many crazy numerics and other special characters can be broken in 5 minutes, right? Literally. The whole password thing is completely broken, right? First and foremost, it's broken because we store so many passwords. If you actually use the same password for everything, if one gets broken, everything's broken, right? So there's a huge problem there. That's a cloud security problem. That's just a big mess that's waiting to happen, right? And that's another problem somebody can go solve if they can figure it out, right? Huge opportunity there to kind of push security into the cloud, push personal security into the cloud, right? In a massive way, and get rid of passwords themselves. Because with this kind of compute, you can break almost any password. And it's just, and it takes a matter of seconds. Even before that SMS can come to you telling you your bank account's been cleared, it's cleared, right? And it's gone. So, even those SMSs won't help you, right? So let's talk about nano computing. So on the other side, you have miniaturization. You thought ICs were small, but now whole computers are becoming so small. You can embed them, you can wear them, you can put them in, almost build small little fabrics that can be embedded in people, right? Or people can wear. It's amazing the kind of technologies that are coming into play, and they're going to kind of even graft them into human flesh and all kinds of things. They've got uses for these, right? And this is another area where we see a lot of nano computing come into play. And this is also, a lot of these things have antennas. They can be controlled from externally. Why would you embed something in the body if you couldn't control it from outside, right? How do you control it from outside? Hey, wireless, right? And how do you get those? And guess what? If they embed enough of these, it's like a mesh network inside your body. They're talking to each other, and then the one closest to the surface can talk out, right? And it's amazing. These things are actually happening as we speak, okay? And eventually we'll have like all these little antennas inside our bodies too, right? All talking to each other and then sending data out and, providing all the kind of metrics on yourself. And, it's just a little crazy. When I read all this stuff, I'm like, wow, it's sci-fi, right? But I'm sure if somebody 50 years ago looked at where we are today, they'd say it's sci-fi too, right? And all you have to do is just believe this is all going to happen, right? And guess what? When you combine these two, what they did was, this is an experiment, they did at a research center. Essentially, they took the brainwaves and they asked people just to think. And then they recorded the brainwaves as they're thinking about random things. And then they said, they recorded all those brainwaves, they put it into the cloud, and then they said, now think about any one of those things you thought about for the last half an hour. And then they reproduced the image that person was thinking about, right? So essentially, they showed them a whole bunch of things, and as they were kind of imbibing that, they were recording the brainwaves, and then they were able to play back something almost approximate. You can see the person's face there, right? In that second diagram. And that's a reproduction based on just the brainwaves later. It's not an exact mapping, but listen, that'll come with time. A little bit more refinement, and you'll almost have high fidelity, right, in reproduction. And that will become a very valuable thing in terms of the UX. Think about that. If I can just think and things can happen, then it's the ultimate UX, right? It's the ultimate mouse in some sense. It's the ultimate keyboard, right? Let's talk about social platforms. This again, very important to mobile, very important to cloud, because everything's interconnected, right? There's 3 big ones that we all know of, and there's clearly a bunch of others. And guess what? In the old days, we'd say we take military technology and try and convert it into commercial, right? And into enterprise software. And what they do now is they look at social technologies and try and convert it into commercial, right? So they look at, okay, what's going on in the social area, and how can I apply that to my enterprise, to my business, right? What's going on in kind of the social field? This is these patterns, again, this is another opportunity. If you're looking at what you could do, how could you take some of those? And there's obviously lots of work already underway here, but are there patterns there that you can see that apply in the social area, and can you translate it into a business opportunity that an enterprise can leverage, right? The other thing is to leverage, opportunities are there if you can leverage the platform strengths. And let me throw you up 3 platforms out there. Google, what does Google do well? Got lots of data, right? Huge amounts of data. And they sell you ads, and they're able to kind of, from the data, infer intelligence, right? And give you access to that intelligence, okay? So Google does that well. What does Apple do well? They give you experiences. They give you really good experiences, and they do design and they do marketing really well. But they don't have a lot of data. Other than iTunes, you don't really go to Apple for data, right? You don't go there for your search, fundamentally. Now they're trying with iCloud and everything. And the third silo is relationships. And Facebook provides that great. Facebook doesn't have a lot of data, other than it has the relationship data, but it doesn't provide you any search engine. It's certainly, the experience at Facebook has a lot to be desired still. It could be improved dramatically. It's certainly not an Apple-esque-like experience, for sure. But again, is there a way you can take these 3 and combine them? Again, think about, when I think of these 3 silos, here are the things I'm seeing in each of them. What's powerful about them? The Google UIs generally suck. I mean, of course, there are always the Google fanboys who'll say, I love Gmail, and okay, fine, great. Gmail's good, it works great, but it's not pretty, right, necessarily, okay? And I think if you just took a random vote of people, mostly will come out 50-50 at best, right? But it's very functional, works very fast, very utilitarian, right? And gets the job done. But Apple's beautiful design, all of that, and in Facebook you have all the relationships and just the social graph, right? Again, huge opportunities there. Sorry, got a little typo there in the intent, but context, intent, and control. Let's talk about that. What does this mean? This is all the analytics that's going on, right? And in the cloud, what is who, what, when, where, how, and so it's all about. So what is the analytics about? It's about tell me what happened in the past, okay? Tell me what's going on now, and that's interesting, okay? Which is you can look at the past. You can kind of look at what's going on right now. Show me the meters. Show me how fast I'm going right now. Okay, I'm going 90 miles an hour right now. How far have I gone? I've gone 300 kilometers, right? But if you can tell me what's going to happen in the next 2 hours, that's going to be very interesting, right? If you can tell me you're not going to be able to drive 90 miles an hour, or you're going to have an accident if you keep driving 90 miles an hour, right? At exactly 23 minutes from now, if you keep going the way you are, there's going to be an accident, right? So inference. The whole point of analytics is the inference, right? Which is, nobody really wants to know about the past. That we already have the data. You know, it's like, it's great. From what are you trying to do with the data in the past and the present? You're trying to infer something about the future, right? That's the whole point of analytics and BI and all this big data. It's, can I do something? Can I predict something that we otherwise would not know? And it's not about extrapolating a straight line. That any idiot can do, right? It's actually finding something that's outside the norm, right? That's the hard thing. Because a straight line, you know, if it's a straight line and everybody else is predicting a drop and you predict a straight line, that's fine, right? But that's the whole game here in terms of analytics. Let me just get rid of this. Sorry, lost. So what else is feeding this engine of big data in the cloud? Take a look at all the sensors you have out there. There are millions of sensors. Every one of our smartphones has every one of these. Guess what? In the future, your smartphone microphone is going to be turned on continuously in a low kind of mode. It's going to know everything that's going around your environment. Now, I was in a demo day before yesterday where somebody had a little robot, and the robot was basically a simple robot that had an iPad on it, and the founding team came in and showed us this demo. And you know, anybody in the room can talk, and the robot navigates, points at that person, you know, and then you can have 3 or 4 of these robots in there. They're coordinating with each other. So there's like 6, 7 people in the room. The cameras are being pointed correctly at the right people. And each of those robots actually represents somebody in the remote location, right? And the tablet actually has that person's face on it. So it's a little surreal when you have all these people walking around the room, you know. But, you know, when you're talking to them, they actually come and talk. And the surreal thing was, 2 robots started talking to each other. Because those 2 people are talking to each other, right? And so the 2 robots just turned and they talked to each other. 2 tablets were standing in the middle of the room, and there were like 8 of us in the room. But those 2 were talking to each other. But the robots recognized that they were talking to each other, independent of us doing anything. There was nobody controlling anything, right? So that was like a machine-to-machine experience, right? And it was just surreal, but it was happening in front of me, right? And it was like amazing the way it just happened, you know? So it's all to do with these sensors, right? You got the smart TV. The TV will be completely aware. The remote will finally die, right? Guaranteed. I don't know how long, maybe 2 years, 3 years, but you'll just be able to wave. You'll be able to just say next channel, or as soon as you sit down, it'll know at this time of day, I watch this show. Why doesn't it know, right? It knows my pattern, right? It should know, you know, you liked that show last time, you know, at the end of each program, you should hit a like button, right? And it's like, okay, I like that. Now show me something like that, right? Because I want to see the next thing that's like that, right?